Hello, Huskies, and welcome back to another episode of the Talk-a-latte podcast. My name is Jamie, your host, and today we are joined with three lovely guests from the Pelt and Opie Library to talk about services they provide, as well as some additional information on what they do. So if the special guests would like to introduce themselves, tell us what your role is in the department, and also what a day-to-day looks like in your role.
My name is Dory. My name is Dory Schaefer. I am the Outreach, Instruction, and Research Librarian. My day looks very different every single day. I don't have days that are super scheduled out and planned. But a typical semester day will often have one-off sessions that we do, like guest lectures in classrooms, where we go teach information literacy, time working on reference, answering questions, working with students, planning events, filling out spreadsheets, and boring stuff too, but a lot of fun stuff.
My name's Nora Allred. I'm the Associate Director for the library and also for Scholarly Communications. I'm pretty sure none of us have a typical day. My goals are usually to try to further develop programs and outreach with, I work with a lot of faculty and grad student researchers. I also work closely with the library director, working on various projects there, and I oversee the interlibrary loan services and collections and other things. So I try to touch base with all of those people and services, and also stay caught up on current events. And
my name is Jen Sams. I'm the Assistant Director, Public Education and Public Services. So that means a lot of what I do is pretty similar to Dory. Dory's on my team. So a lot of, especially during the first half of the semester, a lot of what I do is working with classes on those information literacy, research skills. You're working on a project, you need to find some outside information. How do you do that effectively? How do you do it efficiently, using the best resources, things like that. And so not only are we working with classes, but before that we're working with faculty and instructors to sort of develop those sessions and make sure that they're tailored so that you're getting new information and information that really targets your needs. So then in addition to that, I'm also doing a lot of sort of a higher level planning for how that program looks across classes, but also working with lots of different people in the library to kind of make sure that runs smoothly, and then also working with our manager of circulation services and Dory to make sure like all of our different public services points are kind of on the same page at any given point in time. So, oodles of hats.
Yeah, as you can tell from the roles, there's a lot that goes into the library, and maybe some of our students don't know everything that your area has to offer. So we'll be going a little into detail with some of those services today, but to start us off, let's do some rapid questions regarding the library. So what are the hours of the library?
It's complicated.
I have them pulled up.
Yeah. So you want to?
I'll answer this
Okay.
one. So there's like several different service points within the library, and they all have different hours. But the main service desk, where you think of where you check out books, most of the weekdays they tend to close at 10 p.m. and open at 8. And then there's the 24/7 space, which is the whole window space on the first floor and the second floor. And then on weekends, that desk is open a little bit closer to 6 p.m. But there's always time that you can be in the library. It's never completely closed.
With one exception.
With one exception.
And that is the night of Winter Carnival.
Right.
We do close down. Just everybody should take a break, have some fun.
And when the main part of the library is closed overnight, let's say 3 in the morning, maybe one of our PhD students is looking to do some research, how do they enter the 24-hour section of the library?
So on the west side of the building, there is a door. So if you're standing kind of in between the library and the MUB, is when you would see that door. It's labeled overnight entrance. You can use your ID to tap in there, or you can cross from Recce, the bridge, to get in and tap your card there as well. So that'll get you in both sides of the building, and then you can enter those places that Dory said. And from there you can still access printing, you can still access computers, you can access lots and lots of space, both individual spaces and collaborative spaces, vending machines, lots of things that you would still want and need to do that work. But we do encourage people to go home and sleep.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. And you did mention printing, and I wanted to talk a little bit about that. Are there opportunities for students to print, let's say they have to print an assignment for their class or something like that, or maybe posters for presentations? How would they go about doing that in the library?
So printing, basic printing works the same way it does everywhere else on campus, right? IT runs that. IT has sort of a little niche inside the library, and they kind of do their own things. That works the same way it does everywhere else on campus. Poster printing, though, is a library service. We have 2 poster printers, I think, at this point, up on the second floor. That's self-serve, so you bring your design to the front. There's some computers by the front desk. You bring those, you bring your design to those computers. There's a whole sort of set of instructions on how to print. You hit print, you pay at the front desk. If you're a graduate student and you're doing this for a conference, for a lab, something like this, get your department to pay. It's about $250 a square foot, which is $30 for a pretty standard conference poster size. And then you can, once you pay, it'll spit out on those printers upstairs. 3D printing is the other big service that we offer, kind of in that realm of printing.
Yeah, there's nearly a dozen 3D printers at this point, and that is a service that we offer for free to students up to a certain amount of weight of the filament. Almost every project that a student works on will be free, and then after that they just pay for whatever at cost it is. And we have students who work on those for class projects and also for leisure activities at an engineering school like ours. A lot of students like to play around with them and mess with them. So it's just kind of a really fun and intellectual process for students to get involved and work on that design process hands-on in the library.
And speaking of, obviously a library, you think of people studying, reading books, whatever it may be. So word on the street is there are study rooms in the library that students can use. So what is the process of using those, and are there any rules associated with those?
Yeah, so you can book a study room on our website. There is a big button on the front page. Usually you have to scroll down just a smidge to see it, unless you have like a giant screen. But you click that, it'll walk you through the process. Main thing is that they are reserved for students during the academic year. So students have first dibs on those, and there's a limited time frame that you can use those. So meaning you can't book one for all day. You do need to book one, I believe it's 3 hours. 3 hours. There is a check-in process that we implemented a little while ago, and that was just because we had a lot of people booking them, and then you get busy, you realize you have other things that day, and you maybe forget to cancel your reservation, and other people didn't have a chance to book it. So when you arrive, you do need to check in. There's a QR code on the door, and that just ensures that then if you forget to cancel, you can release that reservation to somebody else.
Awesome. And I know there's different floors of the library, and so can the library be used for more than just studying? Can you hang out with your friends? Can you eat your lunch in between classes? And are there any different restrictions on the different floors in the library?
People hang out all the time. We have a games collection, so that's popular. There's also a Dungeons and Dragons collection, so there have actually been groups spotted playing in the 24-hour area. There are microwaves in the cafe area and possibly the vending machine area. So, yes, you can eat. We don't allow alcohol, so no.
Free campus, everybody.
Yes. So, the things you would expect. And the archives will not let you in if they even smell food on you. So no food or drink allowed in the archives. Am I forgetting anything?
No. We hear the tour groups come through all the time, and it's really interesting to hear that perspective on what you can and can't do in the library. They're very convinced that we have some strict rules about sound. The only one is that the third floor is silent study.
Right.
And they're like, oh, there's like a graded, it gets quieter as you go up. We don't enforce that. That's all student led. So it's just really interesting to see how that's developed over time. So the third floor is silent study, and it is very quiet. But otherwise, people have just sort of made that space, students have sort of made that space their own in a lot of ways.
Yeah, we're here busting the myths, though, because I did my undergraduate as well at Tech, and that was like, first floor, free games, second floor, can still talk, but kind of, you know.
I do not know.
Yeah.
But then third floor, if I was up there, I would always feel scared to, like, sneeze or something, because I
Me
feel like
too.
everyone would look at me. But that's good to know.
I have been shushed by students up there.
Yeah.
Like, I've never, ever shushed anybody. I have been.
Yeah, well, that's
So,
good to know
yeah.
now going forward. And you had mentioned the archives, and so obviously
Yes.
that's one of the big discussion topics, you know, going into today, kind of what I wanted you guys to share information on. So what are the archives, and how can the students utilize them?
The archives are the Copper Country Historical Collections. They have items from the old mining days. They have some university historical items and information. There are donations from local photographers. Jen, do you know more? Speak to more.
Yeah, the thing I like to emphasize when I talk about it is that everything down there is unique, right? So this is material that is one of a kind, and it's not something that you're going to find in another library, and that's how it ends up in the archives. And that's when Nora said you can't even like smell like food down there. They don't. That's kind of why, right? They really protect that stuff, and it's really cool stuff. So if you want to go down and explore it, you make an appointment, and there's forms on the website to do that. But you don't have to do it like all this stuff. You don't have to do it for research. You can, of course. But it can be just because you're interested too, right? Just be like, hey, is my house haunted? Let's go do some property research. Like, people do that.
I'm going to go book an appointment after this.
Absolutely. And so, so there's all sorts of really interesting materials down there, and some really cool archivists who can help you kind of wade through what it is.
Awesome. And we've mentioned on our podcast many times that a lot of our international students are graduate students. And so what are some specific resources that you guys provide that can help students with their research or work on their dissertations or whatever it may be?
So graduate students have a much higher research level need than undergraduate students. It's pretty easy to anticipate that. So we provide what you think of first initially as that kind of hard peer-reviewed research, the academic literature for you to dive into, a lot of STEM documents because, once again, so many STEM programs on campus. So that includes things like engineering standards and stuff like that. And we also, a big thing that we provide to graduate students is help kind of with some of the complexities that come with writing a dissertation. So the librarians are kind of experts in copyright areas and stuff, so we can help you navigate things like publishing. What are your rights as a publisher when you're writing things? Who do you have to cite? How do you appropriately attribute things to other people who've done work before you? And how do you make sure the work you've done is representative of you and claimed by you? So we can help students walk through those processes and with some of the sticky questions that come up with that. We can also are kind of budding experts in the areas of kind of using AI as an information-seeking tool to find information and how to not use it to find information in cases where you don't want to use it, and see where those tools can help you do your research. So we really, grad students are some of the students on campus that benefit most from our services because what they need is so specialized and expensive. They could never access it without a library, and we will help them find those things and use those things and make sure that it's coming through in their work.
Yeah, sorry, do you know? Okay. And I know, undergraduate students as well, they'll be in those basic courses coming in like composition and stuff like that where they'll need to write papers, and I know you've already touched on that, but are there specific resources for things like that as well?
Yeah, a lot of the resources that we subscribe to a lot of research resources, a lot of those articles and things where if you were using Google or Google Scholar, you'd hit a paywall when you tried to access them. What people often don't realize is, especially when you're on campus, you're not hitting as many paywalls because a lot of those resources know that you're on campus and know that you're a subscriber, so you're already getting our access that our librarians have, we have a collections librarian who negotiates for that and makes those agreements and gets that access for you already. So when we go into some of those classes, we help students figure out how to access those. And so with undergraduates, we do a lot of here's what those resources are, here's how that initial access goes. And then with graduate students, it's like Dory said, often a lot more targeted. We'll do consultations, we'll sit down and be like, okay, what is your really narrow research area? Let's find one particular subscription resource. Let's talk about your research questions and really dive into what you're going to need during your time here. And we can do that one-on-one. Or with small groups. And that's true with undergraduates as well. It just really varies by individual, by discipline, and things like that. When we were trying to figure out, we had your list of questions here, I think we wrote, they're like these subscriptions that we have, they're like cable subscriptions, but kind of worse. Yeah. Right, because they're packaged, and you don't always know that you have them, but we're paying a lot of money for them, but we want you to use them, and oh my God, it's a mess. Yeah. So we want to help you navigate that. We don't want students to be banging their head against a keyboard being we don't know how to find this information. We'll help you do that part. Yeah. We want you to have those skills, but we also want to get you started so that you're getting to sort of that new and novel research that you're here to do.
Definitely.
Nora, do you want to Nora's the copyright publishing authorship expert. So.
Yeah, we help a lot of grad students and others with copyright and licensing questions connected both to their dissertations or theses, and a lot of them are going to be publishing in a peer-reviewed journal for the first time, and there are a lot of things to understand about that process. One of the things we also do is we help people identify journals that you shouldn't publish in, journals that are considered fraudulent or what's commonly called predatory, in the biz. So things like that a new budding author may not know. So, and also, again, AI, it's being used or accepted in a lot of different ways through a lot of different publishers. And so we can help writers or new authors navigate those policies.
Yeah. And that's been a common theme when we've met with departments on this podcast as well, is just everyone's here to provide resources. Everyone's here to help. Just ask. You want to make sure that you are following the rules and doing what you're supposed to. So it sounds like you guys have a lot of resources to do that and a lot of people willing to help. So that is awesome. And then in terms of other, resources that your department may have, what are some of the other bigger services that you have to offer?
I think thinking about some of the really specialized resources that we offer is really interesting. We've mentioned the archives, which is kind of hyper-specialized and hyper-expert areas. Those archivists are very knowledgeable in what they do. But we have some other things that people don't initially think of because we deal in all sorts of information. So that includes things like data sets. We have a GIS librarian on campus, so if you work in that kind of area, he can help you find all sorts of GIS and map related stuff to be creating and using those in your research, which students in many different fields on this campus use those programs. So we have a lot of things that you don't necessarily think of a library as having that are really very valuable, especially at the grad and faculty level where it gets really intricate, and we know how to find them. So if you're like, how do I find data on ice flows? I have literally no clue. That's something that we will help you find. So some of those really specialized things.
Yeah, we had a couple of notes. I'm checking my notes.
Get forgotten.
Right. We are also what's called a PTRC, a Patent and Trademark Resource Center, which means we can't patent anything for you. That's a different area on campus who can help you with that process. But if you want to do research on patents, on trademarks, intellectual property, we do have a librarian who's an expert in that area and can help you do that kind of research either as background for your own work or just an interest area, things like that. And similarly, right, Nora mentioned that people are often starting to step into the world of publishing, both as new researchers, undergraduate, graduates. Everybody on campus is starting to kind of think about that often. We have an institutional repository, which means it's a repository where people from campus can put their research and make it available to anybody. So that's a really cool feature as well. It's called Digital Commons at Michigan Tech. So if you just Google that, you can see some of the cool work that folks on campus are already working on.
And that's where the dissertations and
Yeah.
theses and master's reports are going to end up.
Yeah. So you can see what people are doing these days. And the other resource, since I mentioned the PTRC, we have a cool resource that I like to bring up because it's very hidden, but it's in the same space in the library, is the Bloomberg Terminal, which usually you only see at really big universities or really big businesses. And it's a financial analysis resource and database that you can make an account on. It can only be accessed from that computer on the second floor in the library. And you can do some really interesting, like, data, I'm sorry, what's the word I'm looking for?
Company research, investment research,
like really high level stuff. So I always encourage people who are interested in that to play around with that tool because it's kind of cool that we have it, and there's not too many other places you can get that kind of information in this area.
That's the kind of stuff they use on the actual stock market
Yes.
for words to find
Yes.
information.
Yeah.
Like it's massive.
Yeah.
So yeah, just lots of like cool little things that often
Right.
until we start talking, we're like, oh yeah, and then there's that. And then
Yeah, I know. At one point, I'm like, hopefully everyone has stepped foot in the library. But yeah, some of this stuff, it's like I'm learning new things, So there's definitely a lot to offer. And I know that the library, it's on campus. Most people think it's just kind of for Michigan Tech. But is this something that's open to the public as well? I know
Yeah.
with typical libraries, you can borrow books, borrow other things. How does that work?
Yeah. So since we're a state-funded institution, anybody in the sort of like 5-county area. So watch
Don't
me.
try to name them.
Don't try to name them right.
There's a key.
Yep.
I don't know.
Ontonagon.
Can get a community card as well. So any of those folks can check out books and check out some of our we call them, it used to be called the productivity tools, and now it's called the Library of Things as of just this year. And that's all of the sort of tools and things that we have at the front desk to make your life easier, more fun, a combination of both.
Community members also have walk-in access to the databases, so they can walk up to any computer, do research. There's also the state of Michigan's MELCAT, or the Resource Sharing Program, where you can come in and you can request a book that we don't have, and it'll be sent to our library for you to pick up, and that's available to anybody who has a card with us, so including community members.
And that's especially great for international students who've come here with family members. We see a lot of students come with their little kids. We have a very small children's book collection, but it's kind of over by the cafe. So you can grab a couple of kids' books, but you can also use your community card to take advantage of that borrowing process and have kids' books sent to our library to pick up. I do that all the time for my own kids, and it's super handy and super nice.
And
great.
how does someone sign up for a community card? And is there a charge associated with that?
No charge. Walk up. I think you just need an ID or some form of identification. And then I think you have to renew it. I don't remember how often. I think it's once a year, but that's about it.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely sounds like a great resource. And I liked that you mentioned about international families as well, because we do have a lot of kids. And obviously, as you mentioned, there's board games as well, at the library.
Yeah.
So it's a place for everyone.
Absolutely.
And speaking of fun things to do, what are some of the events that you hold at the library? And are any, targeted specifically towards international students or maybe new students?
So the library is a very collaborative space. We have a lot of spaces that are rented out by different departments and student groups on campus. I'm a big fan of student groups using our space both to display works that they've done and to host events. So You see them having bake sales in the hallway, putting up their art on the wall, or hosting events in kind of the open areas. We have very nice tools for doing presentations and kind of little classes in a lot of our spaces. And we also work with, specifically when you think of grad student focused events, we do a lot of collaborating with different departments who ask for workshops, try to tailor them to something that's going on campus. So think like grad colloquium or 5-minute thesis or something. We like to 3-minute
3-minute thesis.
You're right. 3MT, very intense timeline there. So we like to work with you guys directly on things that are going on in your life and impacting what you're doing right now. So we try to work with different departments, GSG and IPS, and we also offer lots of new student kind of orientation-y type of things that go on towards the beginning of the semester. So library tours, different classes, so to introduce you to how our library works if it's your first time being in our library, even if you have experience doing research at other institutions.
Awesome. And this is a point that I know we didn't cover ahead of time, but I just thought of it just now. But shout out to our producer, Farida, again, who's here. Her and I, we love our books. And so we attended the Friends of the Library book sale last week. And so I was just curious, what is Friends of the Library?
They're fantastic and kind of unique. It's unusual for an academic library to have a Friends of the Library group. Lots of public libraries have them. They're usually like a non-profit or a separate group that exists to support the library, usually with funding and volunteer hands and things like that. So that is what they do. They're pretty much a separate group, but they meet and they find ways to support the library. They take donations and they have their book sale twice a year. And then those funds go towards the library for various programs. They support the traveling archivist grant every year. So they have like a grant every year that supports an archivist that comes to campus and does specialized research down in our archives and then gives a presentation. Often some of their funding goes towards some of the special collections, like they funded that children's collection. They will usually fund a couple of new tools for the Library of Things every year.
They fund the leisure collection.
Yes, leisure collection. And when we do, this is something that I really love doing. There's a small display that is like a monthly rotating kind of book display. I like to do what I call a student org takeover of that, and they fund students purchasing books that they want for their student org, whether it's a topic that is valuable to them or it's a topic that they want to share on campus. So students pick books that they want added to our collection, and they have funded us to be able to buy those for students, and then they can kind of set up their own display, promote whatever is valuable to them and important to them, and make sure that that literature and books and information is in our library and representative of the students on our campus.
So it's a great organization, and I would definitely encourage people to, get involved either by joining them. I think you can get a membership or just going to that book sale.
Definitely. I know we had a fun time, right, Farida?
We had some fun stuff to go for.
Yeah. We were like all excited outside of the door before the last hour, ready to go. But
did you guys get the bags full?
Yes, we did. It was amazing. But yeah, definitely a great thing they got going there as well to help support. And to kind of wrap up this podcast episode, I wanted to add a few fun questions in here. So, what is your favorite thing about working at the library?
I really love shenanigans. Whenever you're working with student-age populations, there's always weird things going on, and weird things that you see, and those just bring light to my day. And almost every single day, there's something bizarre that I see, and I love it.
There's reasons we're closed on Winter Carnival.
Yeah.
Because no alcohol in the library, remember. What about you guys?
I enjoy... I've been there a long time, and I've enjoyed seeing, the new groups of students who come through. I really like helping students who are new to our campus. And on a very nerdy level, when we get requests and interlibrary loan that nobody else can figure out, I like to figure those out. So, yeah, that's what I'm going to do when I retire. So that's my idea of a good time.
It really is. I don't think Nora can overstate how much everybody's like, oh, we don't want to ask for stuff, and we're like, no, really,
No,
please.
really,
This is
please.
the most complicated article you can find, like, and we will spend all afternoon
They're trying to find
trying to
it.
like race each other. Trying to
Yeah,
find
it's
it.
like a game competition.
It's fantastic. I don't know, you guys. Is it cliche if I say people? We all work with fantastic people in the library with a really interesting and diverse skill set. Libraries are really cool because they're sort of the cliche about, oh, they're books, but like at the same time, there's another cliche at our library specifically where people walk in and they go, "Where's the books?" So we have this interesting sort of push-pull in our library where we have a really diverse skill set of people doing interesting and cool things with information, and they're also just lovely people to work with who want to really, really genuinely just want to help the people, and the students and other staff and faculty on campus. And that's a great environment.
For sure. And on the topic of books, my last question for you is, what is your favorite book? But I know that's a loaded question, and it's very difficult for some people to answer, so you can go with a genre as well, if that's easier.
We may have deleted this off your sheet twice before we put it back on, and then decided to say we all got
Well, now you definitely have to answer.
I'm kind of a movie person, actually. But along the same lines of being a total nerd, I really want to have all 16 volumes of the Oxford English Dictionary in my office so I can sit there and read them. Not necessarily in order. I'm not that bad yet. But I enjoy that very much.
I don't know that I have a favorite book, honestly. I tend to read sci-fi and then biographies. And then what?
That surprises me for some reason. My grandma likes biography.
We're probably not reading the same biographies, but maybe. And then I like a lot of like fun nonfiction, not self-help, but like fun, interesting, how the world works type stuff.
Yeah.
So I haven't actually read this book yet.
But it's great.
I really believe that I really would like Bridges to understanding, envisioning the world through children's books. A book about books.
That's awesome. You're going to have to send me that. That's where my library career started. In children's librarianship, history of children's books.
Yeah.
Maybe we have it for you.
Just
Well, you'll have to update us when you do get a chance to read it.
Give me a few years.
I know with the book sale, Farida and I, we both like thrillers, like suspense,
Yeah.
mysteries, so we're like, people are going to have to hold us back, because if we see a good one, we're going to be fighting for it. So I think we're in the same boat there, but it's interesting to see the diversity in taste, though, out of this group, but everyone has their own thing. And I said that that was the last question, but I guess my last question is, in case someone doesn't know, where is the library on campus, and is there an easy way to reach out to you guys if they have questions?
It's in the heart of campus, right in the center of campus. It's by the bridge to Recce, right next to the MUB. It's one of the first buildings you see when you arrive in town. If you want to reach out to us, you walk in the building and say hi, or you can email us library@mtu.edu. That's a very simple thing to know in your head, just library. Or we have, chat, phone that you can use if you want to. Any way that you want to contact us.
The chat's a real person.
Yeah, that's a real person.
yeah.
I
It's
care
us.
passionately about that.
Good to know. Well, awesome. It was lovely talking with you all today. Thank you for all of the information you shared today on the resources you guys provide. And definitely, if you are listening to this and you need to utilize any of these resources, reach out to one of these lovely ladies or stop in the library and spend some time there. So again, thank you for being here.
Thanks for
Thank
having
you.
us.
Yeah.
And we will see you next episode on the Talk-a-latte podcast. Bye.
This has been an IPS production with Michigan Tech University. If you would like to be featured in a future episode, reach out to us at ips@mtu.edu or come to our office in the administration building. Bye!